1, 2, is this on?
Whether it's through booking or real life decisions, wrestlers will make choices or do things they soon come to regret and would prefer to go back and change. Today we want to explore some of these decisions and the fallout that came from them, as we list 10 things wrestlers regretted in WWE. In the scripted promo era, wrestlers would often be given dialogue they weren't comfortable with or would never normally say, but not everyone had the stroke or were in a high enough position to turn stuff down. This was the case for Shelton Benjamin in July 2009. Before a match with Japanese wrestler Yoshitatsu, Shelton was asked to cut a stereotypical promo, making fun of Japan and the accent.
Yoshi-san, gold standard. You pick wrong night to come here. Stand back or I call Godzilla.
It's something Benjamin deeply regrets and wishes he had refused, as revealed in an interview with Chris Van Vliet in 2024.
To me, the biggest black eye of my career. It didn't reflect who I was then. It doesn't reflect who I am now. That's the one thing I wish I would have put my foot down and go, I'm not doing this.
Jinder Mahal was someone who also fell victim to awful writing. During his run as WWE champion, Mahal didn't want to just be another stereotypical foreign heel.
The country that has given us Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa has now given us the greatest champion of them all.
But tried telling that to Vince McMahon, who booked him as such, and insisted Jinder cut another unfunny and woefully bad anti-Japanese promo. This time it was Shinsuke Nakamura on the receiving end during an episode of SmackDown from September 2017.
Shinsuke, you always look the same. They call you Mr. Miyagi. When somebody yells out, Godzilla, they will tell you you look like Pikachu is having a seizure.
In an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Mahal spoke about being very apprehensive, but Vince was persistent.
So I even asked Vince, like, this is going to get negative backlash. He said, no, don't worry, who cares? Did the promo, was not happy with it, not proud of myself for doing it. Really wish that I could take that moment back.
After receiving much negative backlash from the promo, the WWE PR team wrote an apology statement for Jinder to tweet, but McMahon told them not to post it.
Came up with a statement, and as we were about to tweet it, he said, actually Vince changed his mind, he said no.
Despite being consistently pushed in a top position on WWE programming, behind the scenes, things were beginning to unravel for Randy Orton in 2005 due to substance abuse issues, as well as late night partying.
But it was getting worse and worse, and I was gonna kill myself.
Both of which forced him to miss a rehearsal for his match with The Undertaker the day before WrestleMania 21.
Because I was up all night the night before, I slept in through the alarm and I missed the entire Undertaker rehearsal. That's probably one of my biggest regrets in the business.
Later that night, Orton inducted his father, Cowboy Bob, into the Hall of Fame. Randy was still going on barely any sleep and didn't prepare a speech ahead of time, something he would live to regret after how the induction went.
I had no notes, no speech. I went up there and I winged it, and it was probably less than 90 seconds. I was out of it. That was probably one of my biggest fails. It's not giving my father his proper due, what he deserved. That's probably my biggest regret.
In another incident in 2006, Orton made a comment disrespecting Eddie Guerrero, who had just passed away.
Eddie ain't in heaven. Eddie's down there in hell.
Randy describes it as the most uncomfortable thing he ever had to do in his career.
100% was not comfortable with it. Ray and myself went to Vicky, and Vicky gave us her blessing, and she said the same thing. Eddie would have wanted to help you guys in this manner.
Triple H has never been shy when it comes to dishing out personal jokes.
Eddie, give me Ric Flair's number.
Cough it up, Jumping Bean.
I was thinking about writing a book on nutrition.
Really? What are you gonna call it? How to lose 50 pounds in 4 weeks?
Like when he made fun of Lillian Garcia by referencing a backstage joke that certain personnel, including commentators, have made in the past about Lillian resembling a horse.
Lillian wants to come back here for one night to the WWE just to horse around.
But there was one comment the game was forced to publicly apologize over. The remark in question occurred during a media scrum, which was recorded by Inside the Ropes ahead of NXT UK's TakeOver Blackpool event at the start of 2020. When being asked about Edge and Page potentially returning to WWE, Hunter spoke about other wrestlers like Daniel Bryan, who'd also been medically disqualified, but ended up stepping back in the ring.
I would love to see them step into the ring and compete. More importantly than that, though, I'd like to see them live long, healthy lives. Edge has kids. Paige, maybe, no, she probably has something she doesn't know of, but thank you.
Triple H posted an apology on Twitter. Meanwhile, Paige had already responded, first with a tweet of her own, and then during an interview with Sportskeeda a few weeks later.
Obviously, I was a little bit perplexed little bit taken back because like he's someone that I truly look up to. But I just don't think it was appropriate to joke about.
Throughout their time together, the WWE always viewed Edge as having more upside than Christian. So after the two split in 2001, it was important for Christian to make an impression and switch things up. But he chose to keep the same appearance, something he now regrets looking back on.
You know, when Edge and I split up, I don't think I did myself any favors by not really changing the Christian part of Edge and Christian. I still came out as the guy that looked like Christian from Edge and Christian.
I was too immature and inexperienced at the time enough to realize I should have completely done the change then.
In 2002, Christian seemed to get lost in the shuffle until he joined the Un-Americans faction. Here, he was asked to cut his hair, but pushed back on it as he wanted to wait until he was a single star again, which eventually happened the next year. The decision to have Nexus lose at the 2010 SummerSlam shocked fans. The group definitely suffered from it, but it was the way in which they lost did even further damage. While the call to have Nexus lose against Team WWE came from the higher-ups, it was up to the talent to work out the finish. John Cena decided that it would come down to him against Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel, where Cena would take a DDT on the exposed floor only to come back and defeat both Gabriel and Barrett, recovering from the DDT within 90 seconds and winning the entire bout within 3 minutes. Despite pushback from the Nexus and John's teammates on the night, Edge and Chris Jericho, Cena went ahead with the planned finish, but later admitted he was wrong in doing so, as told by Wade Barrett and Edge on Inside the Ropes.
I guessed wrong on the way that the story was told, and I think that's why people are so up in arms about it. But we tell so many stories. I was wrong once.
You know, we got told that finish, and Chris and I went, oh, what? That makes no sense. They gotta go over.
Later on that day, we spoke to John Cena too. He reiterated the message from Vince that SummerSlam needs to have a happy ending. The kids need to go home happy. I thought it was then. I think it's now. It was a bad decision, and that's how we did it.
Kurt Angle made his long overdue return to WWE in 2017, and while his subsequent run wasn't what any of us would have hoped for, Kurt's retirement match at WrestleMania 35 should have at least been memorable. However, Angle's comeback had been marred by bad booking from the higher-ups, and unfortunately, this was set to continue. As in his last ever match, Kurt was to face Baron Corbin. The two had previously feuded, with their storyline coming to an end after a match on Raw, and despite 99% of fans and Angle himself campaigning to have John Cena as his final opponent, Vince McMahon wouldn't budge, insisting that Kurt wrestle Corbin. This was something no one wanted, and it tainted what would have been a memorable farewell for Angle.
Vince said, you know what? No, because you're doing a program with Baron Corbin, you have to finish this program, but I'll give you John Cena next year. And I said, Vince, I don't want to wait a year. He said, well, then you don't have a choice. You're going to have to wrestle Baron Corbin. I'm not crazy about wrestling Baron, only because of his status at the time. But I think maybe the company might have been a little bitter about my departure in 2006 and, you know, heading to TNA for 11 years and then coming back.
Cena being Kurt's last opponent after Angle had been Cena's first match in 2002 would have been poetic and one hell of a WrestleMania moment. It writes itself really, so the decision not to do it will go down as one of the most mind-boggling choices in wrestling history. Zack Ryder took the wrestling internet by storm in 2011, and by the end of the year, he'd finally landed himself a featured role on TV. This after starting up his YouTube show, Z True Long Island Story, as a way to create buzz. But it would all come crashing down for Ryder within a matter of months. He lost his girlfriend Eve in storyline and got pushed off the stage by Kane, and was never able to get revenge on either wrestler. The WWE had also moved his show to their channel, meaning it got watered down and wasn't fun to produce anymore. As a result, Ryder says he regrets giving WWE such control, speaking about this on his MC True Long Island Story podcast.
I didn't want to move it. I did not want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to keep doing it. And I knew they were going to start editing it. I knew it would become a job. And it did.
Ryder believes he should have ended his show there and then. It had served its purpose after all. However, in 2012, Zack fell back down the card. He pretty much spent the rest of his time with the company either losing or wrestling on the C shows. At the height of his popularity, where he was a big merch seller and one of the most followed wrestlers on social media, Ryder believes he should have asked more questions of the higher-ups regarding his place on the card, as revealed during an interview with Matt Camp.
During that time, I could have easily knocked on Vince McMahon's door and been like, hey, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? And I didn't do that. So I don't have an answer. So I blame myself. I'm not going to say WWE bury me. I think that's the cop-out. That's the easy way out. And I never wanted to take that route.
During her time with WWE, it seemed like every week, Torrie Wilson was put in some sort of bra and panties skit or bikini contest. It's quite surreal to look back on, but this was the sentiment from the company at the time. Though it's even more crazy now that we know how uncomfortable Torrie was participating in these types of segments, as she described during an interview with Chris Van Vliet.
I just had like a certain amount of like PTSD from like being so vulnerable out there and feeling like I was put in this kind of like raunchy role that wasn't me.
TORRIE discussed moments where she was nearly driven to tears but put on a brave face, owning each segment and pushing through the fear. Before facing Chris Jericho for the AEW Championship at Full Gear 2019, Cody Rhodes announced that if he lost, he could never challenge for the belt again.
If I do not defeat Chris Jericho at Full Gear, I will never challenge for the AEW World Championship again.
A decision that the company would have to uphold after Rhodes ultimately came up short at the pay-per-view. All Elite Wrestling had just started up with Cody as one of their EVPs, so it's thought that the American Nightmare came up with this stipulation so that he wouldn't ever be seen as using his position to become world champion.
So to make political decisions like boxing myself out of winning a world championship, those decisions in hindsight were not the correct decisions. And if I can't be the best wrestler in the world on television because I'm afraid I'm going to offend colleagues because I am also their boss, that was the situation we were in, and I just played it in the middle. There was only so much of playing it in the middle I could do.
Over the next 2 years, Rhodes would instead compete for and become the TNT champion multiple times. But by late 2021, it started to feel like Cody had booked himself into a corner. If he could never challenge for the main title, what more was there to do in AEW? His run with the promotion didn't last too much longer, and Rhodes has since revealed that banning himself from challenging for the world title was a mistake. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 20 minutes of WWE wrestlers punished for going off script. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.